All right, what's good? What's good? What's good, people? What's going on? Welcome to Life Lessons for Men. So we're gonna get into it today. We talking about 5 mistakes men make in dating. First of all, I'm married. I've been in the dating game here and there, and I've obviously had my success and everything, but I just wanted to give you guys some of the game that I have learned and some of the common mistakes that men make. So let's get into the first one. First mistake guys make all the time. You talk too much about yourself, and what I mean is that you talk about all your accomplishments, you talk about everything, your goals, your dreams, and everything, but you don't you don't really ask her any questions to show her any genuine interest in who you're dating. So you don't, and you guys might even ask like yes or no kind of questions or something that's simple. What's your favorite color? Or it's something like that. Like you have to ask general open-ended questions. Things like what makes her smile. Something like that. To ask a woman what makes her smile, and she may sit back and think because no one's really ever asked that before. And the whole point is to make yourself stand out amongst some other guys. So and you don't want to talk so much about yourself that you're not asking questions. And what you're also doing is you're dominating the conversation. You're not even allowing her to speak. This is supposed to be a date. It's supposed to be two people having a conversation and getting to know each other. But when one person is just speaking so much about themselves, they're not they're not able to learn anything from that other person. They're just talking. They're just in a stream of consciousness, just talking, and you just talking so much about yourself. You don't even know who this girl is. You don't even know what she's about. You barely know her first name. You don't know where she's from. You don't know what she likes to do, what she enjoys. You don't even know if you have good chemistry about each other. You don't even know if you have anything in common because you don't bother to ask her anything because you're so busy talking about yourself. Now, if she asks you, yes, you can take a couple minutes to answer, but don't go on and on and on for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes just talking about yourself. That's not cool. And another thing, it kind of turns women off when you just brag about yourself excessively as you're talking so much about yourself. You're bragging about your accomplishments. You're bragging about where you went to school, what you do for a living, this, that, and the third. You talking about your accomplishments, how much money you got, the ice on your chain, all this other kind of stuff. That's cool and everything, but the whole point of a first date is to get to know someone, get to know who she is, and she can learn who you are because you're talking so much about yourself that you are failing to see who she is. She is learning a lot about you. She may learn that you are a bit self-centered, that you may be a bit selfish because you don't bother to take any interest in her because you're talking so much about yourself. So, you know, don't be so much bragging excessively about yourself. Just talking about all your accomplishments and some like material possessions or whatever. What kind of car you drive, the house you live in, all this other kind of stuff. You're not being a good listener. You're not listening at all because you doing all the talking. She ain't saying a word. And when she does say a word, try not to interrupt her. Unless she's saying something very rude and disrespectful, try not to interrupt her. And if you do, just kind of apologize because you don't want to come off as rude. You don't want to come off as being disrespectful or anything like that. Again, this is a date. This is when two people are really getting to know each other. And the whole point is to have casual, respectful conversation to learn if you even want to have a second date. That's the whole point of a first date. The whole point of a first date is to learn. enough about the other person that you want to learn more, that you want to have a second date, that you want to take your time, your limited time, and for men, use your resources to plan and pay for a second date. Now, what that looks like, we'll get to that in another video. But the whole point is just not talk about yourself so much that you you fail to allow her to say anything about herself. So, you know, and another thing that turns women off a lot, this is the second point. You don't want to be too aggressive. Don't want to be too aggressive, but you don't want to be too passive either. You got to kind of have a middle ground with this. This is where a lot of guys get tripped up because women like not really aggressiveness, but assertiveness. And assertive is not aggressive. It is not passive. It's right there in the middle. So you have to learn that assertiveness. Learn to speak up for yourself if something's not right. Learn not to let something go because you may not see it as a big deal. One thing guys do all the time, they let things go that are just small little inklings of disrespect, or she may say, oh, your little job or your little car. Like, no, 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 it's something I bust my ass for. So you have to, again, be assertive, not aggressive, not passive. Be assertive. And being aggressive, you don't want to come off too strong. You don't want to come off too overwhelming. You don't want to have this overwhelming aggressiveness about you that you are just putting yourself on such a high level of her that she's not able to even speak about herself, because you're talking about all your accomplishments and everything, and you're just kind of just overwhelming her with everything. And you don't want to be so overwhelming that you're with physical touch or suggestive comments or anything like that, because again, this is the first date. You're getting to know each other. Now, it might be okay to hug or something like that, but don't go trying to touch her thighs or something, or you got to be careful with the touch barrier, because y'all don't really know each other. You may have talked on the phone, you may have texted each other, but it's a whole different ball game when you two are sitting across the table from one another and you're trying to get to know each other. So you don't want to come off as being too aggressive, being too pushy, because that turns women off rip. If you're a guy out here, you're dating, you're being too pushy, that just turns women off rip. Even if she finds you attractive, even if she finds you the most sexiest guy that she's ever met, if you are being too pushy, especially when you're trying to when you're pushed into in a sexual kind of way, women that turns women off. Even if she would be willing to go back to your place and throw you them panty drawers, just being too pushy just turns them off. And I know it's kind of weird because, yeah, in a woman's mind, women, they'll look at you and within the first 30 seconds or so, they'll just look you up and down, something. They will instantly think, oh, I could get with him. That's what they think. But if you're too pushy, they get turned off. I know it's kind of weird, right? So, that's why you want to be assertive, confident assertiveness, and have some intelligence with it. So, along with that confidence and assertiveness, you don't want to be too passive, and you don't want to you're not taking the lead in the conversation. You're not taking the lead in planning the date and making the conversation happen. Again, this is a date. This is a first date that you're supposed to be setting up. So it's on you to make the plans to start the conversation, because you are leading this. You're showing your leadership skills and leading this conversation, leading this date, leading everything that's going to happen this night. Women love seeing a man that can lead. It is in a woman's nature to follow a man's lead. So if you are leading in the conversation, if you are planning the date, first of all, let's talk about planning the date. Number one, in my opinion, it is best to have a first date, especially a first date at a restaurant or something. Why? Because the whole point is to get to know each other. You go into a movie theater, maybe you go to do some activity or something, but the whole point is, do you want to spend more time with this woman? Because you don't want to waste any time getting to know who she is. You want to know who she is as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Now, you're not going to learn everything, but you want to learn enough to see if you want to have a second date with this woman. You want to learn, is she selfish? Is she self-centered? Is she entitled? You got a lot of women out here that's very entitled nowadays. They think they're entitled to your money, your time, your resources, such and so forth. You have to learn these things. How do you learn it? You plan a date at a restaurant where you two can sit across from one another. Put the phones down. Don't be on your phone the whole time. If she's on her phone and she's disinterested, put the phones down. Have a genuine conversation face to face to get to know her. So what I do when I plan a date with my wife, when I planned our first date, first of all, I found out what city she lives in. I'm not going to ask for her exact address, but what city she lives in, what zip code she lives in. I'm going to try to find a restaurant relatively close to her. Even if I'm living 30 minutes away or something, I'm willing to drive to a place that's close to her. Why? Because women are more comfortable when they're close to their home. Some women, they may be willing to drive, 20, 30 minutes, whatever, but you want to make her as comfortable as possible. So when you are planning a date, make her as comfortable as possible, because when women are comfortable, they let their head down, they lay back, they're willing to listen to you. So you got to make them comfortable. So figure out where she's at, city-wise, zip code-wise. And also, what a lot of guys I don't see doing, they're not asking if a woman has any food allergies. I know many different women who are allergic to peanuts. They may have a shellfish allergy. Maybe if they don't have any allergies, they might have a special diet. Maybe they're a pescatarian or something. They don't eat steak or whatever. So don't be taking them to Fogo if they don't eat steak or whatever. But or maybe they have a shellfish allergy. Don't take them to a seafood restaurant. Maybe take them to Fogo. See, you have to ask these things up front. Again, you don't know her. This is the first date. You're looking to get to know her, but you need a little bit of information up front so you can plan an effective date. So ask her, generally what city that you live in, what zip code. You don't ask for an exact address, but like, what area are you around, so that you can find something on Google Maps, on Yelp or whatever that is close to her home, so she don't have to drive far, especially if you're looking to meet her at like 7, 8 o'clock at night or something. You don't want her driving 20, 30 minutes to get back home. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's dangerous for some women in certain areas. So again, find something close to where she's at. And, what I do is I have a rule for a first date. I am looking to have something that's kind of, that I'm looking to spend maybe around about $100 or so. Now, your budget may be different. Your budget may be to, a coffee date or something. Some women don't like coffee dates. Some guys are against spending a little bit more money on women. So I get it. You got to have a middle ground. So, when we talking about planning a first date, you don't try not to do a coffee date. Try to do a restaurant, something because most of these women are foodies out here anyway. They want something good to eat. and you can sit down, have a conversation longer when y'all order maybe one drink. That's the maximum, one drink a piece, and y'all order some food or whatever. And if it's nice outside, maybe y'all go for a walk afterwards. But start with a nice restaurant, something like I don't know. You got to look at the menu first of all. So if she does not have a shellfish allergy or whatever, she's willing to go to steakhouse, whatever. Don't do not spend two, three, $400 on the first day. That's an absolute no. No, don't be spending all this money on the first date. Don't do that. Don't be taking them to Fogo on the first day. Don't be taking the maestros on the first day. You want something that's like a, I don't know, like a cheesecake factory or something where you do your research. You look at the menu and say, okay, I'm probably going to spend about $100. Give or take the tip, because that is a comfortable range to take a woman somewhere where she feels comfortable, where she's willing to sit down and have a date with you, a conversation with you, and at the same time, you're not looking like a cheapskate. You're not looking like a little like you just broke out here or whatever. So you got to plan a first date. Find something where she's at. Figure out if she has any shellfish allergies, and then start looking on Google Maps. I personally prefer Yelp. I will type in a specific city and start looking on Yelp. I'm looking for something that's got at least 4 stars. You might be able to get away with 3.5. You kind of taking a chance on that a little bit, but I try to find something with like 4 stars, and then I'll go on the website, look at the menu, see what some of these prices are looking like. You know, is it gonna cost? How much are the drinks? Are the drinks like $12 a piece? Are they $20 a piece? What's the most expensive thing on the menu? What's the average price of the food on the menu? Because these are very important, because you don't want to get to the restaurant and then look at her some kind of way when she orders the most expensive thing on there. Guess what? You picked it. You picked the restaurant. You should have known these things up front. Now, she should also have in her mind to not order the expensive thing on the menu, but at the same time, you also picked a restaurant. So again, this goes into planning the date. This is part of not being passive. This is part of being confident and assertive and planning out the date. Planning all this out. Women love to hear a man just say, "Get dressed, let's go." Yeah, you don't want to be too cheap and going out to McDonald's or something. Don't be going out here to Burger King, Chick-fil-A, talking about, let me get the number one, and they'll say my pleasure, and you just keep it moving. So yeah, you don't want to be cheaping out on the first date. Spend somewhere around about $100. I think that's a good happy medium where you don't look like a cheap ass, and she is comfortable enough to sit down and go out on a date with you. Somewhere around about $100, but you won't know that unless you research the restaurant, look at the menu, see how much it will cost if you get a drink, she get a drink, y'all both get some kind of entree, possibly dessert, I don't know, and then whatever the tip may be. You got to break out your calculator. Again, you planning a date. You gotta put a little bit of effort into this. And also, the last thing when it comes to planning a restaurant date, I highly recommend, especially for the first date, I highly recommend that you pick a restaurant that takes reservations. Make reservations in advance. One thing about me that I can't stand is when I go to a restaurant and they don't take reservations, the place is packed. I got to sit there and wait for 30, 45 minutes. I'm hungry. I'm coming through the door. I'm starving. I want to sit down. I want to order a drink, order some appetizers. I don't want to sit there and wait 30, 45 minutes, especially when I done drove 30, 45 minutes to get there in the first place. So make a reservation That way, when you get there, you give them your name. You said, I got a reservation. You should be sitting down within 2 minutes. If they got to clean the table, okay, cool. But ain't no 30-minute wait. Ain't no 45-minute wait. If it's more than 5 or 10 minutes, you need to speak to the manager. Like, look, I made a reservation for 7 o'clock. It's 7:30. We've been here. Why isn't my table ready? And again, she's going to be looking at you because you plan the dates. She's going to be looking at you to see if you take the lead, if you have that assertiveness, if you have that confidence to say, hey, this ain't right. Because she's going to look at you and say, is he being too passive and letting this go on and not saying something? Again, you have to play that middle area. Don't be too aggressive. Don't be too passive. You want to play the middle area. Be confident, be assertive, and say what you want. Say what's on your mind. So, just getting back to it. You don't, when you're sitting down or whatever, when you're talking to her, you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be disrespectful. That's just a straight turn off rip. And guess what? You got to pay attention to what she's saying too, because you got a lot of women out here that's also slick with the mouth as well. Is she being disrespectful? Is she being rude? Don't be afraid to call them out on that BS. If a woman's being disrespectful to you, if she's being rude to you, pay attention to how she's talking to the waiter. Is she being disrespectful to the waiter? She's being rude to the waiter or whatever. Is she being snobby or stuck up, or, don't even say thank you when they bring her some water or whatever, because pay attention to how she treats other people. She will likely treat you the same way, especially when she gets comfortable. But for you, you have to make sure that you're not being rude, you're not being disrespectful. And what goes into that? Let's say you do not pick her up at her house, which most women would rather not do, especially on the first date. Y'all don't know each other. Okay, cool. Ain't got a problem with it. So you plan a restaurant. Again, you make reservations. Say, okay, meet me at such and such at 7 o'clock. Don't be showing up there at like 7:15, 7:30, whatever. That's just, you're not respecting her time. You're not respecting anything. So, shout out to everybody in the comment section. The Condemned, what's up, brother? Terrell, what's up? What's going on? I see y'all in here. I appreciate y'all tuning in. So, again, don't be late. Don't be disrespectful. Don't ask anything at the last minute. Don't cancel at the last minute without a valid reason. Don't be talking about, my goldfish died, I can't make it. Come on, no, don't do that. I mean, you got to have a really strong reason to cancel a first date. Now, if she does the same thing to you, okay, what is her reason for canceling the first date? Is she talking about, if you show up and she says that, because this happened to me one time. I remember I planned a date out. It was like 45 minutes away, out of my way. Matter of fact, I had to cross state lines to go meet her where she's at, because this girl was fine. Ooh, she was fine. She was fine. She had the physique going on and everything, and she had it going on, and I remember like, I couldn't wait to go meet this girl, because she sent me a picture of the little black dress she was planning on wearing. I was excited, and I saw that curve on there. I was excited. I drove 45 minutes out of my way, cross state lines, because again, I wanted to go to a place that's close to where she was at. So I get all the way out there, and I got my reservations and everything, and she didn't even show up. She shot me down. She didn't even show up. I'm like, I'm trying to call her or whatever. I'm in the place. I'm just sitting down. She's like, oh, I thought I'd text you saying I couldn't make it. First of all, you don't text somebody and say you can't make it. You pick up the damn phone like a grown ass person to say you can't make it. So she was cut off. Because I ain't playing that out here. I go out my way to plan a date. You say you text me and you don't show up. You don't pick up the phone and it's like, I'm sorry. Like, woman, you don't see the effort that I put in? Like, that's so rude. That's so disrespectful. So, don't do that to them. And damn sure don't be so passive about it. Don't put up with that from a woman. So, if she's showing up late, okay, fine. But you plan the date. How you gonna plan something and show up late? This ain't a party. What would it look like if she show up at 7 o'clock, you get there at 7:15, 7:30, unless you got a very good reason. What, she's sitting in the lobby waiting on you? That's just not a good look to start a first date. So, and again, when you sitting down or whatever, again, you don't know her. Try not to use inappropriate language. Try not to make offensive jokes. You may have a good sense of humor, and if you can make a woman laugh, she will feel so comfortable. Women love a man with a sense of humor. You make a woman laugh, she will sit back, the tension will drop, and she will just start smiling at you. She'll start looking at your eyes and everything. But try not to say anything that might be offensive, whatever, because you don't know what her sense of humor is like. You don't know anything about her. You just trying to get to know her. And yes, you trending on walls a little bit. You may drop a little joke here and there, but try not to use any foul language, any offensive jokes and everything. And again, treat the waiting staff with respect, because as much as you paying attention to her, she's paying attention to you. She's paying attention to from the moment you walk through the door, she's looking up you up and down. She is analyzing everything about you. She is seeing how you move, how you react, what your mannerisms are, how you treat the waiter or waitress. You know, some of these women, they'll even go to see what you write down for the tip. So when you go to sign a check at the night, they looking at the tip to saying, okay, is he putting 15%? Is he putting 20%? Is he putting 22%? Because she's paying attention to level of service as well. So she's looking at, okay, how much percentage is he putting down, for a fair tip? Is he being a cheapskate? Yeah, he took me to this nice place, but this person, the waitress, they deserve their tip too. Is he putting 15%? They have great service. They checked on us, they brought us everything quickly and all that. But he's putting 15%. That's kind of cheap. So, do what is most common, 20%, 18%, something like that. So, so just more mistakes that men are making out here, in my opinion. um, you're not being present, you're not being engaged in the conversation. And by that I mean, again, you're on your phone. First of all, your phone should be on silent. Your phone should be on vibrate, on silent, or whatever. You don't want to hear the whole bunch of dings going off. You don't want to hear ESPN da 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 da. You don't want to hear none of that going off in the background. Um, Even if somebody call you, your phone should be on silent. You can if it's something urgent or whatever, you can look at it and then just put it back down. But honestly, I don't even want to go there. This is a conversation. This is a first date. First impressions are everything. So you want to make sure that you are doing your level best to have a first impression with this woman, because she took her time to come out there. You took your time to come out there. You are paying for this date. You don't want your hard-earned money to go to waste because you're not being engaged with her. You on your phone or ignoring her or whatever. So, you want to eliminate as many distractions as possible, and you want to make, try not to make eye contact with her cleavage. A lot of women out here, they purposely gonna show up show off the cleavage, especially if they are, if they got them tick old bitties and everything. They're going to Some women are going to show their cleavage out here. They want to look sexy. Women love looking sexy and all that kind of stuff. So try to look at her eyes and not look at her breasts, because she's going to pay attention to that. Even if she's showing them to you, she wants you engaged to know who she is. Bottom line. So, and you got to pay attention to who she is as well, because again, you're trying to get to know what kind of woman she is. You're trying to get to know, is she is she a gold digger? What's her character? Is she crazy? You got a lot of crazy women out here now. You got a whole lot of crazy ass women. So, is she a streetwalker? Is she for the streets? Especially if she come out the house with a looking like an escort, with some high clear heels or something like that. You know, you try not to you try not to be so judgmental with how a woman dresses, but you got on a certain uniform. Someone gonna think you out here, standing on the corner, just selling ass. So again, you have to pay attention to her. You have to be engaged with her, see what she's talking about, and try to remain as engaged as possible. Don't be looking around a restaurant or whatever unless she brings something up, or maybe you talking about some of the ambiance of the place, whatever. You sitting down from her, just like I'm looking at this camera right now. You sitting down and having a conversation with her, having an engagement with her, because honestly, you can get so caught up in a conversation with a woman, 2 hours will go by, you don't even know it. I remember I remember when I had my first date with my wife. Coincidentally, we lived about 10 minutes from each other. I did not know this until she talked about where she lived at. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm right down the street. So it was perfect because I knew almost every place around there. So I planned a date or whatever. Again, had reservations. We sat down, we talking, chilling, vibing, all that. She didn't drink on the first date because, I guess that's her rule or whatever. I think I had one drink or something. But her and I were just talking so much. I think we got to this place at like 6, 7 o'clock, something like that. It's like 9, 10 o'clock. We so engaged talking to one another. The place was packed when we got there. They were closing. We were the last people there. They had to kick us out because we were just sitting there talking for so long. Yeah, we didn't eat the food and all that, but we had just been talking so much, learning so much about each other, and that they had to kick us out. They're like, "Hey, look, it's 10 o'clock. We closing. Y'all got to go. Here's y'all check. Y'all, you ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here." So, we just talking so much, and because I was so engaged, she was so engaged, it just made that conversation so effortless. So, when you having a conversation with the woman, especially on the first date, just try to make her comfortable. And yes, most people when they first meet, they're going to bring a representative. They're going to wear a mask. They're going to show their best self. You know how when you talk on the phone with somebody like a customer service or whatever, you put on that voice. You put on that persona that you don't want to come off as an asshole or whatever. You code switch. A lot of people put on their best self. They put on their Sunday best or whatever, and they bring their representative, so to speak, to the first date because they are afraid to show that other person their real self, their authentic self, that they don't really know if that other person will accept it. I'm telling you right now, you don't have to show 100% honesty and authenticity, but a vast majority, like 80%, be you, be who you are, be your authentic self, because you don't know how to be anything else in the long run anyway. You don't know how to be anyone other than yourself. And again, she is learning about you, you're learning about her. If she's being her authentic self, if she is, you only time will tell, just, but if she's being her authentic self, you're being your authentic self, you're seeing exactly who each other is. I forgot who made that quote. I think it was Maya Angelou or something, but it goes like, if let a person talk long enough, they'll tell you exactly who they are. Let a woman talk long enough, she will tell you exactly who she is. You just have to pay attention. You just have to listen for those cues. Because if you don't, she could be just throwing out all kinds of sign language out in your face, shame, insults, guilt, the need to be right. She could just be throwing that out there. And if you don't have the emotional intelligence to pick up on her verbal genjutsu out here, you are going to miss that and realize that this woman is for the street, she crazy or whatever. But if you're not engaged in the conversation, you would never know that in the first place. The best way to be engaged in the conversation is to be your authentic self. Yes, don't give a person, your whole truth or whatever, because we all have a past. We all have been through some shit. We all have some kind of trauma or whatever. Say that for a later date when she's really invested into you, but you want to put your best authentic self forward. you know you want to express yourself with intelligence, express yourself with confidence, because a woman will ask you, what happened with your last relationship or whatever, tell me about you, or what are your goals or whatever. Again, be your authentic self. And now you can spitball some of those same questions back at her and see what her response is. But again, this is on you. Going back to the first point, this is on you to lead. This is on you because this is your date. You planned this date. You were supposed to be leading the conversation, because by leading in all these ways, it's showing that you can lead in the relationship. If this leads to a relationship, it shows that you are taking charge. You are taking headship. You are leading this relationship. And it will show you, is she willing to follow your lead? So you have to pay attention to all these things. I know it's a lot. I know it's maybe a little bit complicated, but overall, you want to avoid these mistakes. You want to avoid talking so much about yourself. You want to avoid being too aggressive or being too passive. You want to avoid these mistakes, these 5 dating mistakes. You want to avoid being too rude or disrespectful. You want to avoid being too not being engaged, not being present in the conversation. And you want to avoid not truly listening to what she is saying. Not really. You're not listening to respond to what she's saying. You're not listening, engaged in the conversation. You're just spitballing stuff. And kind of another thing I want to say, you're not, before you even get to all that, you're not really planning a date. You just showing up and y'all sit down. You don't even know if the place is packed. You got to do a little bit of research ahead of time. So that's another thing. A lot of guys, a mistake you want to avoid. You want to avoid not planning a date ahead of time. Not avoid forgetting to make reservations. Avoid a place that don't even take reservations, especially on the first date. Avoid a place that's going to cost you a whole lot of money. avoid, I'm sorry, you can't go to Fogo on the first date. You can't be going out here to Maestro's on the first date. Ocean Prime, no. Roof Chris, no. Something along the way, which you're gonna spend about $100. About $100. I think that's a good happy medium for a first date. Try not to do a coffee date. That's just me personally, because I want to sit down. I want to spend at least about an hour or so with you to get to know you, to see if a woman is worthy of you taking your time, your effort, your money for a second date. You can spend about an hour to figure out if she is going to be worth your time for a second date. Yeah, you can say, "Oh, well, you have to show yourself, so to speak." You're the one planning the second date. Is she worth a second date? And also, are you making her feel comfortable enough where she would want a second date from you? What did Kevin Samuels used to say? A woman should not go on a first date with a guy who she could not see herself having sex with. A woman shouldn't go on a second date with a guy if sex is not on the menu after the first date. Is she comfortable enough with you to want to have sex with you? Not saying that she has to, but does she want to have sex with you after a first date, going into a second date, going into a third date? And at that point, a decision needs to be made if this is going to move forward. So anyway, let me know what your comments think. Did I get anything right? Did I get anything wrong? Did I miss any points? Are there any other common mistakes that you guys have that you want me to talk about in another live? Let me know in the comments at the bottom. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for listening to Life Lessons for Men. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.